And I'm better than ever. Okay. Whenever you're ready, then. Ow. Yes. Okay. Good. Oh, you also shared the link in putting over podcast.
Oh, we both did. All right, yep. I'll delete mine, I think, if I can. All right, there we go. Better communication, motherfucker.
You can. I'll let you do that one now. From here
well,
on.
I just deleted it.
I may starting next week.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. Let's see what we got.
Wearing a very appropriate shirt this evening.
What's that? Oh,
there you go.
All right. I'm good to go.
Okie doke. Then you got the chat room up and everything?
Yep.
Perfect. Somebody's in there. It says we have a viewer. So starting off in the positive.
There you
go. This is. Do you have a fan on?
Yeah. Well, you hear it?
It's blowing on your microphone, yeah.
Yeah, motherfucker. Hold on. Oh, did you? No, it still shouldn't be picking up anything. All right. Is that better?
Yeah. Perfect. Okay.
Turned it down to low.
So this is my dad bought me this fan.
Yeah.
That plugs into the USB port.
Yeah.
And it also has the LEDs on the front that make it a clock.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can do it during your podcast so you can see what time it is and if you get hot. And I used it like 2 weeks ago and I had fucking noise throughout the show. I'm like, God damn it.
Plus, better than Sal's heavy breathing.
Plus, though, for some reason, because the microphone was picking up the fan noise, it was then also more receptive to picking up an echo from my headset.
Yeah.
So that was a fun show to piece together.
Well, your mic changes based on the sound. Like if your wife yells at you from across the room, then it changes and really loudly.
Yeah, I got to keep an eye on the level because it fucking changes all by itself like an asshole.
No, the compressor, you're fine.
Didn't do it last night while we were recording episode 10 of NXT of Nitromania with Henry. That stayed at 0.46 at the entire thing. So I don't know if it's maybe the Hangout or something. I don't know. Because we use Skype for that and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, but once you run the compressor, it shouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
Fixes that. So I haven't even. I've stopped.
I meant to send him the link for that. I got to do that.
I've stopped watching it altogether. So.
Okay. So 3:05 in 3, 2, 1, record. Did he say
bitches?
I'm so hot, I'm juicy. It's episode 305 of the Rundown. My name is Adam. I'm your host. It is Wednesday. What? August 2nd, 2017. Happy August, everybody. Jason's back.
Yes, I am. And we are like 30 seconds into the show, and it's already better than last week.
Oh,
See how that happened?
that's mean. You were sick last week. I'm glad you're back. Although we're going to talk about things this week that I have no idea what we're going to talk about because I didn't get to watch SmackDown, and I don't know much about UFC. But we'll get to that. Before that, however, we saved this topic for you because this is kind of your baby as well. 2 Sundays ago, not this past Sunday at Old Yankee Homecoming with APW, where finally, it didn't rain a single drop the entire day. And I have
I'm just saying, the first time I've been at Yankee Homecoming and it didn't rain. So,
and I have the sunburn to prove it.
No joke.
But the Sunday before that, the day that I lost my suit, which has now been found, thankfully, El Mundo Fan Fest, the Latino Family Fest at Fenway Park. We had 26 matches. It was a free-for-all, and it was an absolute blast. I had so much fun. And I thank you again for letting me be part of that.
Oh, thank you for helping out. Like I said, last year I got the chance to do a lot of the stuff, so I wanted to make sure that you guys who hadn't been there last year got the chance to do the bulk of the work this year in terms of the ring announcing, get the experience, and get to say you did it. So I grabbed the few things that I really wanted to do, and I just kind of let you guys handle the rest. And you guys, all of you who did ring announcing that night, did an amazing job, picked up the whole show for everybody, and I thank you guys for that effort. Not only yourself, I'm going to sound like a jerk now because the names are escaping me, but
Ryan Andrews,
yes, everybody. And from them to the referees who don't always get credit for the work that they do, all the way down, of course, the wrestlers, the boys were great. Everybody worked through some less than advantageous circumstances to start the show. We had the entryway collapse, which is not something that happens at every wrestling show.
Only happened once.
We had a lot of stuff go down, but everybody was a pro. Everybody got through it. The fans didn't notice a goddamn thing in terms of the chaos we were dealing with.
Okay.
Which means we all did our job, and it was. Again, I said before. told you going into it, it was going to be a long day. You're going to be exhausted by the end of it, but you're going to be able to say you did something really fucking cool. And
I had a blast.
That was
so much fun. Yeah, it was definitely. It was not. It was not uncontrolled chaos. It was chaos. It was controlled chaos, slightly controlled chaos, almost uncontrolled chaos. But it was so much fun. Yeah. Ring announcers, pick the matches that you want. But you have 15 seconds before we start. So ready, go. Okay, I'll do match 1. You guys choose amongst yourselves.
Okay, so let me take you. let me break down that fourth wall. Take everybody behind that curtain a little bit. Okay. So this show, I think the original bell time was what 11 o'clock, something like that.
Yep.
Okay. So about 9:15 or so, Bo Douglas, who was putting on the show, I was helping him out. Says to me, go by the back, make sure you check the guys in as they come to the entrance, tell them they're, who's with us and everything, and I'll meet you up there and we'll get the card all set. Cool, no problem. So I'm up there waiting. I'm talking to guys as they're coming in, and time kind of starts flying, and next thing I know, Jose Perez, love Jose, he was a great help to me that day too, comes up to me about 10 past 10, something like that. Says, yeah, Bo says you got the card. No, actually I don't. I have Bo was supposed to meet me here. And basically I went and found Bo, and we worked on the car. We figured out where stuff was going to go, and we came up with the card, probably the final copy of the card, probably 10 minutes before the show actually set to start. So
the ring announcers were getting it 1 page at a time. Like here's matches 1 through 7. Pick which ones you want. We'll get you 8 through 15 later.
We'll get you 8 through 15 later. Just let that sink in by yourself, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. How many was it? 26 total?
26, and then I think the Battle Royal too. So 27 total, I believe.
We were supposed to be 11-3, and we ended at what, 4:30?
Something like that, yes.
Oh, So much fun, and I look forward to and hope that I am asked to do it again next year because I just had an absolute blast. Okay.
The aftermath was less fun for Adam. But we'll get...
But that's my the worst part about it is it's my own stupid fault. But anyway,
nobody really quite understood how you managed to do that. I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm glad it's all resolved now.
I can tell you exactly what happened.
Back the curtain on other people. Let's pull back the curtain on Adam for a second here, because they always say if you're a wrestler, you always have your gear with you because you never know when you're going to need it, right? Adam sort of did the reverse. Adam decided he would leave his gear at Fenway Park in case anybody else needed it. So turns out we finished the show at 4:30. I helped say my goodbyes, do a little bit of talking with people, get in my car, drive home. I live about an hour away. I got home about 6:30-ish, somewhere around there. Went and picked up dinner for the family, and as I'm driving back, I get a call or a text. A text from Adam, sort of frantically asking if I knew if anybody was still at Fenway. I have no idea. I've been gone for an hour and a half. Why? What's up? I left my suit.
No, the text said, hang on, let me go back. Shit. Oh, let's go back further. I'm that far behind.
I think we can paraphrase it. It's fine. So I called the people I knew who might still be there, and Bo wasn't there anymore, and he said someone else, Dante Luna, who was, give him a shout out too, very gracious, helping to put that whole thing together for us and get us in with the El Mundo people and make that happen 2 years in a row.
The exact text was, fuck me. I left my goddamn suit in the locker room.
There you go. So for about a week, Adam is texting me on and off about the suit. Several times I said, I'll bet you it's just hanging there still, because there were a bunch of gimmicked lockers that people were using, and I said, I'll bet you it's probably, people think it's part of the display, it's probably still sitting in the locker. Call them and have them actually go look. And then Adam had some fun on the phone with the people from Fenway.
Fenway Fan Services. I called Fan Services 3 times in a week. The first time I spoke to a guy who didn't seem to care that much, but said, "Oh, there's nothing in the database, so I'll take your information, and if it turns up, we'll call you." And then the second time,
actually going and looking.
Yeah, the second time I called a lady who said there was no record of my first call, and then she randomly transferred me to a voicemail. That guy actually did call me back, though. The guy who I left a voicemail for. Third time I called back, I'm pretty sure I got the same guy I talked to the first time who told me the same thing, but. That was that Friday? I think that was Friday. Bo actually posted on the most frantic post I made in the Facebook group for the Fenway show. Have you called Aramark? Aramark is, of course, the company who supplies all the workers for Fenway, the cleanup crew, the vendors, the people who work in the concession stands, all those folks. And so I Googled Aramark and I called Aramark, and the guy from Aramark goes, "Let me connect you to this guy, whatever his name was. He's the manager of the Champions Club." And I said, "Oh, perfect." So I talked to him. This guy actually goes to the room and then comes back and says, "Is it a black bag? It says Outfitters on it. It's got Men's Warehouse." I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Yeah, well, they had to transition it over to the kids' clubhouse for the home stand, but they just put it in the closet. But I have it for you. I'll take it up to Fan Services." I'm like, "Oh, that's good. Somebody finally checks the goddamn room." And there it was. So my crisis was averted.
Does it say Men's Warehouse on it? Yes, it does. Purple shirt? Yep. No, haven't seen it.
But I'll tell you exactly what happened is I got changed, and Brian Malonis is in the locker. Was like, "Are you going back up to Gorilla? Can you grab me and Davey and shirts?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I ran up and I got those, and then I went back and I realized that I hadn't said goodbye to Dante yet. So I had to run around to find Dante, and then by that point, it was still in the room. Anyway,
there's a time-honored tradition in the wrestling business that when you arrive at a show or leave a show, you shake everybody else in the locker room's hand. It's just a small show of respect to each other. That becomes more difficult when there's 120 motherfuckers in the locker room.
No kidding.
Yes, because for those of you who are not aware, who maybe didn't attend El Mundo or haven't heard any of the stories, we had 120 wrestlers on that show.
again, 27 matches. So it was a big long day. Now that we spent 10 minutes talking about that,
Yes.
to something that probably most of the people outside of the Boston area don't really care that much about, but fuck them. It's my show.
Yeah, fuck the fans. That's always a great approach to a show, Adam. We got a couple get caught up on the side. We got Tron PB on the side, who apparently says Jason with a bunch of exclamation points. So,
yes, he was very sad that you were gone last week.
Matt says Donovan Dijak shirt and gives you applause for that. Although he spells Dijak wrong with a Y.
Jeez.
Dijak does not have a Y in it.
I. That's an I right there.
Very creative shirt designs for Donovan Dijak. I was a big fan of his designs. Some of those he's not going to be able to get away with where he's going, but
especially this one.
Yeah, for sure. Or the Dunkin' Donuts one, I think.
Yeah.
Tron asks, what was the best match of the G1?
Yeah, Tron wanted us to talk about that last week, but didn't have no idea. So
I haven't not 100% caught up yet. To me, so far, my favorite has been Omega and Elgin because I thought the match was great, and the outcome surprised the hell out of me because I did not expect Omega to lose. But I am a little bit behind. I haven't seen the last couple days worth, so I'm gonna hopefully get caught up soon. And if there's anything great that's happened since then, we'll talk about it in a future episode. But yeah, for my money, if you haven't seen that Elgin and Omega match, go check it out because it was top notch. What else do we got? Oh, and must have been talking about when you were calling. It says the call is coming from inside the park. So there you go.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so that's the chat room. Smathers Lounge, something, slide off your pants.
Yes. For those of you who don't know, we got so sidetracked so early. If you're watching us live on YouTube, you can look at the right-hand side of your screen. We have a box that says live chat. You'll see some topics in there and discussion in there already. You could feel free to step in, step out of your pants, grab the oil, do what you're going to do, and join the conversation. And as I always say, you don't need the oil, but it's not as much fun without it. So do what you got to do. And for those of you watching, because I have heard this question asked, if you're on the mobile app, you can access the live chat from the mobile app for YouTube. Typically, I think there's a little section at the bottom you have to hit that says live chat. You hit it, and it kind of expands and opens up. So,
ta-da!
So yes, if you're watching on your phone, if you're watching on your iPad, I don't know about Android, but probably I would imagine if iPhone and Android and iPad have it, that Android will work too. You can access the live chat from all your mobile devices. So basically what we're saying is talk to us because we're very lonely people and we need your validation.
The Smathers Lounge on the go.
Yes.
That's all you need. All right.
Did anyone tell Smathers we moved to Wednesday? Because he's not in there yet.
I talked about it last week. He wasn't here last week. But I also posted on Facebook, so he'll learn. Okay. So we have topics. We have topics to discuss. So last week on Raw, they announced the shocking decision to have a fatal four-way match at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship. This week on Raw, we got another fantastic appearance from Brock Lesnar and the Advocate Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman drops the bombshell that he knows what Kurt Angle is doing here. He knows this trick. All right.
And this story that has never been discussed up until this point.
And if Brock Lesnar loses the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands here. If Brock Lesnar loses the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, he will be done with the WWE forever, which is a decision that I'm perfectly all right with. I think it adds an interesting twist to the match, where, you know, most people were expecting, you know, this fatal four-way is a way to get the title off Brock without Brock taking a pin, because that's what they do for Brock. But now people, maybe he does keep it and he does stick around.
Well, the other side of it is, and I think for my money, I think this is somehow tied to the second thing that we're going to talk about in just a moment.
Right.
I think this stuff may very well all tie together, and we'll probably have to wait a little bit to find out for sure. but there's a good shot. But it's a storyline that just sort of came out of nowhere, and I don't think anybody had hinted at it, made any mention of it, that there was any reason or animosity or pressure or desire to get the belt off of Lesnar from management. And all of a sudden, Heyman was just playing the card like, they were Daniel Bryan with the Authority trying to hold him down for months. Like, kind of sort of took me back a little bit. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's not incorrect. It's the big title on Raw, and it just isn't around. So I suppose it makes a little bit of sense in that regard. But yeah, a little bit out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, it was definitely out of nowhere. It was definitely another great promo by Heyman.
Of course,
as he's wont to do, he just knocked it out of the fucking park. But all in all, the segment was interesting in that revelation that they're setting up a way for Lesnar to take an extended hiatus, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I wonder why he might need an extended hiatus.
I don't know.
What could he possibly be doing that would require him to go away for a while?
Well, I guess we're going to jump right into this. For those of you who watched this past Saturday night's UFC card, by the way, one of the better UFC cards I think I've ever seen outside of Tyron Woodley. I'm sure we have one or two people who are UFC fans listening to this. That Woodley fight was by far one of the worst fights I've ever seen in my life. Talk about the idea of doing just enough to get the decision and win, but yeah, whatever he did. Probably cost himself the GSP fight in the process, so, whatever. What do you think about that, Adam?
Yeah. This is when you yell at me because the last UFC show I watched was the one with CM Punk on it.
And then you left after CM Punk's fight before the main event, yes. But in any event, the main event of that show featured Daniel Cormier defending the light heavyweight title against John Jones. And in what was my pick, and surprisingly, the Vegas betting lines pick, John Jones defeated Daniel Cormier for the light heavyweight championship, basically knocked him out on his feet with a kick right to the fucking head.
Yeah, the way you were describing it on Sunday, it sounded like a pretty brutal kick.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome fight all around. But Cormier was very distraught afterwards, inconsolable, crying in the ring. I think he was I think he was literally still knocked silly at that point. But Jones grabs the mic, does basically cuts a big promo about how, he respects Daniel Cormier and, he has nothing to be ashamed of, et cetera, et cetera. They go and they interview Cormier. And then following that, Jones comes back, grabs the mic and says, "Hey, Brock Lesnar, if you want to know what it's like to get your ass kicked by a guy who weighs 40 pounds less than you, give me a call," or something to that extent. Coming into this fight, there had been speculation that Brock Lesnar was returning to UFC, based largely on reports that he had re-entered the USADA testing pool, the U.S. Anti-Doping Authority Administration, one or two. USADA, if you're a fight fan, that's what you know him as.
Right.
But you have to, because he was suspended, he has to re-enter the pool. I think he has to be in there for 4 months, I want to say, prior to actually fighting again or being licensed or cleared to fight again. So most people pointing towards somewhere around Christmas or the November show. I think this is Madison Square Garden. I think that was one they were talking about. So there had been speculation that Lesnar was going back to UFC. Then you have a very wrestling promo-esque style call out, if you will, by John Jones. And it looks like we're sitting here with the possibility of a John Jones-Brock Lesnar fight. Interestingly enough, it would probably have to be a catchweight fight because, like Jones said, 40 pounds, it could very well be 60 pounds. Lesnar outweighs him by. But it's probably the biggest money fight John Jones will ever have. And he's had some big money fights, but this is probably a $1 million buy fight if it happens. And I'd love to see it. I'd be very intrigued to see how it would play out.
I assume they haven't fought before?
No, they have not. I'm not the authority on UFC. I watch the fights periodically, especially the big cards, but I know most of the top guys. But
the Revival?
Yeah, Jones is a guy I'm a big fan of, and I'd be as a fight fan, I would be very excited to see that. But it looks like the speculation now, of course, based on what we talked about earlier, is that WB is manipulating storyline a way to get Lesnar off TV to allow him to go start a training camp for a Jones fight.
So there you go. So my wife actually asked me this week who I think will win the title at SummerSlam, and I honestly, at this point, I don't know. I'm not sure. So,
well, I mean, we'll have a prediction show down the road, but
we'll get there.
Tron says, I could be Smathers, but I like older women. So there you go.
Oh, jeez.
And
other viewers getting in on it.
And then said, could Elgin win the whole thing? I assume he's talking about the G1. And I think from the beginning, everyone sort of assumed it was going to be Omega to set up Omega and Okada. We're going to get that match as part of the B block. I want to say August 16th is that match, if I get the date correct. So we're going to get number 3. We already know we're getting number 3. If Omega were to win, it would be number 4 at the Tokyo Dome in January. 4 times in a 1-year span, could be going to the well one too many times. I guess we'll find out. But it's possible if they wanted to throw a curveball, and Elgin would be a nice replacement to get that spot. We'll see. Who do you think is going to win the G1?
Doink.
You're bad luck Fale kind of guy? Tanahashi?
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Over on SmackDown, which I did not see because my DVR.
We need to get a Japanese wrestling aficionado on this show, because
I think we do. Your main event on SmackDown was the number 1 contenders match for SummerSlam for the WWE Championship. Just to make Troy mad, giving it away on free TV. John Cena versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I saw a bit of this match thanks to videos on Facebook, including the spot where Cena gets dropped directly on his noggin. But from everything I've heard, this was a really, really good match.
Yeah, it was an excellent match with the short amount of time they were given. This was, again, we talked about this going into it. Well, I wasn't here last week. I don't know if you and Andy really touched on it, but this is a waste to almost have this here. It was a match that really should have been given more time, given a bigger stage. This would have been great at the previous pay-per-view to do the number 1 contenders match at what it was.
Yeah, we actually mentioned that at Battleground.
Great dicks of fire on backlashes of cocks. I don't know what the fuck the pay-per-view is called.
Battleground.
Yes, Battle Dicks. At that pay-per-view, it would have been great to have Nakamura and Cena as the headline. You would have increased the quality of that pay-per-view in addition to putting something on the line that would be intriguing. You could have put it in a Punjabi prison, would have made it even better. Nobody would have seen it, but yeah, I didn't get a chance to comment on Battleground. I don't want to rehash everything because people who watched the show last week, suffice it to say, Andy was pretty much wrong about everything. And I guess I'll just go there. So go back and listen. Whatever Andy said, I think the opposite. So that's.
It's heat.
No, I'm just
heat.
No, I'm just playing around. I believe I listened to the show last week, and I believe at some point Andy said something about not liking me, and that's fine. I'm sure he was just kidding, but yeah, it was basically an hour and a half show, and it was basically like 45 minutes of Andy doing plugs for stuff, even though we have a section for plugs at the end of the show. Speaking of which, if you want to plug your asshole with some poetry, go to tinyurl.com/distant horizons.
All right.
I'm just kidding. I love you, Andy. I just had to bust your balls a little bit.
So Nakamura gets the victory. Nakamura is going to face.
Actually, allow me to just publicly thank Andy for calling in last week. I did feel like shit, so I couldn't make it, and he stepped up and covered me. So I appreciate it.
It's a big job, but he's a tall guy too, so it works out.
There you go.
Yeah, Nakamura wins. Nakamura is going on to face Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam,
as predicted originally by this guy.
And then on 205
all
Live,
of you motherfuckers were going, oh, it's going to be Cena and Jinder. Cena's going to win the title. Cena. No, never made fucking sense for Cena to win that title. You think they're going to make a guy a free agent, allow him to go to Raw, and then put the SmackDown fucking title on him? Never made any sense.
All right, Vince.
Yeah, pal.
So,
by the way, I heard some motherfuckers on other shows talking about, oh, now everyone's doing a goddamn Vince impression since Pritchard. I was doing a Vince impression before Pritchard, so fuck y'all.
Yeah, you are Vince. So you have the original Vince impression.
Okay, fair, pal.
Nakamura wins. Then after the show, after SmackDown, but during 205 Live,
we get live on the WWE Network, but not advertised that they were kind of doing a post-match on WWE Network. So the only people that saw this were the 5 people who tune in every week for 205 Live. Myself no longer included. I haven't watched the show in months because,
I didn't watch this week because I was so pissed off about missing SmackDown. Corbin comes out to do his thing, and Corbin and Cena get into a row. So it looks like that's where we're headed for SummerSlam for those two fellows.
Possibly.
So the thought here from many people is Nakamura takes the title from Jinder. Corbin loses to Cena earlier in the evening, cashes in on Nakamura at the end of the evening, wins the title, and now we continue our Corbin-Nakamura feud with the title contained therein.
The downside to the theory being that Corbin has to be the champion. So I don't know that I'm down for that idea, but that could be where they're going.
I'm all right with it. I'm a fan of the Baron Corbin.
Trot on the side says, yeah, that's the theory I said last week, Adam. But did you steal this guy's idea?
Probably. I don't remember things.
Okay.
Remember, I think Troy got mad at me. It might have been Sal, though. Got mad at me once for quoting them on the show and not from the host thread and not knowing who it was. So, anyway.
Yeah, you misquote the host thread all the time.
I do.
But, I love the match. I think, obviously we got that spot that everyone's talking about, the reverse exploder. I don't know whose fault it was. Cena maybe didn't get over far enough. Nakamura didn't guide him far enough. I don't know, but literally dropped him right on his neck. And if it were any other human being with a normal person neck, could have been a partially severed spinal cord. And who knows what would have happened. If you go back, you can, I'm sure a lot of people saw it live like I did, but if you can go back, you can watch. And Nakamura at one point stands up and after the match and says, I'm sorry. To which Cena says, you don't need to be sorry about anything. And they shake hands and, totally off camera. This was just two guys who had just worked a match and had a botch that could have been dangerous, just exchanging in the ring. And it was good. And for all those people who say Cena's a dick, he just got dropped out of his fucking head. And his response was, you don't have to be sorry for anything. So fuck you all.
All right. Meanwhile, over on Raw,
do you have any interest in seeing Nakamura and Jinder? See, here's why I find this interesting. Now, I never subscribed to the notion that Cena was going to beat Jinder at the pay-per-view. That said, Jinder's whole thing has been disrespected by the American heroes, and he disrespected by Randy Orton, the American, and.
Did I see there was a sign on SmackDown near the front row of the crowd that said, "Go ethnic bad guy"?
I didn't see that, but it would be pretty awesome. We'll have to get our boy Henry Hugepex. He's a sign aficionado of this questionable endeavor network. But you can't really play the anti-American card with Nakamura because, he's Japanese. So, which, by the way, happens to be Asian as well as Jinder. So the question then becomes, how do they build enough heat for this match? You have Jinder, who's not a great promo, and Nakamura, in terms of a promo, who is, yep, there it is.
There it is. Go ethnic bad guy.
Right, yep, those of you listening to our podcast on iTunes are really enjoying that. But yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if they can, between now and SummerSlam, which shockingly enough is like 2 fucking weeks away.
I know.
If they can generate enough interest and enough heat for this program to make it the match it should be. I I remember a couple months ago, when creative was very stale, we kept hearing, well, they've got these big, huge plans to make SummerSlam a gigantic event, and they're just kind of treading water until then. And if the big, huge plans to make SummerSlam a main event, a huge event, was Jason Jordan versus The Miz, and
Rusev versus Orton,
and the triple threat with the Hardys and the Club and the Revival and the New Day and the Usos, if they even make the show, and Alexa and Bailey, like, if that was the big plan for the SummerSlam Super Show, I think we can already classify that as a swing and a miss, fellas. I think, honestly, I mean, to me, the thing that you're characterizing this show by so far is the matches that they're not having. The Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon match. And you can say what you want about Shane McMahon as a wrestler, but that would have been a match I'd be far more interested in seeing at this point than the 5th installment of AJ and Owens, as much as I like those guys. AJ and Cena revitalizing their SummerSlam match from last year for the U.S. Open Challenge. The guy who initiated it, the guy who has it now, would have been a great story. Nakamura versus AJ was another one you could have gone. I think that would have been the one everybody would have wanted to see. And then you could have gone Cena and Jinder and played the American versus the anti-American card. So maybe that's the way you go. I've talked ad nauseum about how I thought this should have been Bailey and Sasha at this show. I just feel like this is a card of where the bigger matches are the ones that they're missing and they're not giving us, and they could be. And just so far, I'm just not impressed with how they're putting this card together so far.
Yeah. The biggest show of the summer.
Would it be the ultimate thrill ride of the summer?
It could be. It might be. Yeah, since you just mentioned it, let's talk about Owens versus AJ, episode 636 on SmackDown this week. I heard there was some wonkiness.
It was a very, very good match. I was really into it. I really enjoyed it. I went into it assuming AJ would keep the title. I didn't think they would hot potato it again.
Hot potato.
Yeah, that was okay. But they had an interesting finish where Kevin Owens goes to punch AJ. AJ ducks. Kevin Owens punches the shit out of the air, and the referee drops to the ground. The spot having been obviously that, you know, Owens was supposed to punch the ref and just missed badly, and the ref sold it because it was an integral part of the match.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed Troy's reasoning behind it as well.
I don't remember what it was.
The wind monster from Lost.
There you go. I think it was from Final Destination, which he covers.
That's right.
On Slasher Sanitarium.
That's right. Lost was the smoke monster. My bad.
Yes. More weirdness in these matches with referees and referee spots, because if you remember the pay-per-view, there was a spot where the referee got knocked down and then just sort of sat there and stared at the action and pretended he was hurt, and it was really fucking weird if you go back and watch the pay-per-view. But referees continue to be a problem in this match, and now perhaps we have some clarity on why. But in any event, AJ gets the roll up. Owens clearly has his shoulder up, the referee, because he was selling the injury, decides to count when he can't see. Seems like a bad decision if you're a referee. And counts the 3. Why the fuck he counted when he knew he couldn't see is beyond me. But, you know, hey, whatever.
Can we bring back Jimmy Corderas and those scabs from the referee strike in the late 90s? I
love Jimmy Corderas. He's awesome.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of work. I think he works up in Smash Wrestling in Canada now, actually. But yeah, so a little bit wonkiness. Kevin Owens is clearly pissed, obviously, understandably. They gave an actual reason. He goes to the back, and then after has an exchange with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan, where he says the referees are incompetent, he got screwed, etc., etc. This is the point where I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, this is where he's going to hit Shane, and we're going to kick this thing off. And instead, they give him a rematch with AJ at SummerSlam, and he says Daniel Bryan says he's going to make a special referee for the match, and Owens, of course, and he says, Shane. And Owens goes, he's the worst one here, which I thought was great. And then So the match is made. It's going to be Kevin Owens versus AJ again, and this time with Shane McMahon as the special referee. So it looks like we are still going to build to a Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens program, but we're not having it at SummerSlam. We're going to have it at one of the in-between pay-per-views, because I don't know if they can hold it off.
Pay-per-views.
I mean, I suppose maybe they can hold it off to Survivor Series, but it would be stretching it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I'd gotten to see SmackDown.
You just went Barry White.
Oh, God damn it.
This is where I have to vamp, because Adam is going to have to fix his microphone because it just shorted out in the middle of the broadcast again. So that's going to lead us to our next topic, I guess, which I'll cover while Adam does what Adam's going to do. We have the triple threat match that took place on Raw, the real main event of the show, regardless of the positioning, because the ratings are starting to display to the WWE that the third hour is a wasteland where a lot of people don't watch. They tune out after hour number 2. So if you notice lately, they're putting all the best stuff in hour number 2, and then hour number 3 is sort of like where they just throw the stuff that they don't think anybody really cares about, such as Big Cass and the Big Show in the battle of who gets to use the name Big. Two guys with the same first name going one-on-one in the main event of Raw. Are you back? Nope, you're not. There's no volume at all. This is entertaining. So yes, we had a triple threat on Raw. It was the Samoan Destroyer, or the Sneaky Samoan, whatever Paul Heyman called him. Samoa Joe versus the other Samoan Joe, Roman Reigns, and in case you haven't heard, the monster among men, Braun Strowman. I think they mentioned it once or twice on the show that is his nickname. They had a triple threat that I thought was very entertaining. And you want to try it again? Nope, no sound. They had a triple threat that was very entertaining. Between the three of them, there was a lot of back and forth. They worked all three guys into the match well, which is not always something that they do in triple threats. Sometimes it can be a little wonky with the ins and outs, but they weaved it in such a way that everyone felt a part of the match, and it was entertaining to watch. There were some great spots on the outside where Joe locked in the coquina clutch on Braun Strowman and, of course, sort of stretched him backwards across the barricade. They worked the stairs in a lot, so much so you would think it was a stairs match. No Eric Rowan, unfortunately.
Oh.
I can hear you now, so you're back. Good. And in the end, ultimately, it was Samoa Joe falling victim to the spear, and Roman Reigns gets the victory. So, Adam, what did you think of that match?
I enjoyed it. I was surprised. I was firstly surprised that it happened in the middle of the show. I was expecting that to be the actual main event.
Well, I've just explained that to you, so let's move on.
Yeah, and I was happy that Braun wasn't involved in the finish. Not really surprised that Roman went over. I liked the match though. I thought it was really good. Action packed.
I just vamped for you for like 20 minutes, and it was good.
You should know me by now.
These are contributions. Yeah, so interesting to see in terms of direction heading into SummerSlam. Now we have Joe taking losses to Lesnar and Roman in high-profile spots back-to-back. Typically, that would signify perhaps he's walking out with the title at SummerSlam.
What's that about the law of reverse momentum?
Yeah, I sort of doubt it's going to be Roman based on him getting the clean win here. They could go Strowman, but I think there's more.
I would be perfectly all right with it being Strowman.
I think there's more money, though, in building a Strowman first title win for an event like WrestleMania or something along those lines. There was one spot where the camera...
But then again, we said the same thing about Bayley last year. So
yeah, there was one spot where the camera got really close in on Strowman, and it looks like they got a shot of his bald spot. And I could just picture Vince in the back going, "Goddamn, pal, get that fucking camera off his bald." Like, no, because that's the type of thing Vince would freak the fuck out about. They spent a lot of time and a lot of camera angles avoiding Shawn Michaels' male pattern baldness.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, so I like the match. I was a fan. I feel like, again, and we talked about it before, but it's, again, another match that sort of gives away some of the specialness of the upcoming pay-per-view.
Yeah.
By having all these guys in the ring. And granted,
which is why I was surprised that it was actually a match and not just a huge schmoz.
Yeah, granted Lesnar wasn't in there, and that's fine, but you put 3 of the main principals in the ring together already prior to the pay-per-view. I would have probably avoided that, but it is what it is.
Next week we're gonna have a tag match.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Just the way things seem to go.
Lesnar ain't wrestling on Raw, Adam. Jesus Christ.
Well, obviously, but
Tron says he falls asleep during the 3rd hour, and I think a lot of people would agree with that sentiment, actually.
yeah. It's as someone who has ADD, it's very hard to focus on Raw for 3 hours. And I have trouble focusing on what you talk about during the news segment on its own. So, Jason died.
I died?
No, you're just sitting there in silence.
No, I was working on the rundown sheet.
Okay, this is my favorite topic on the list. Just because it says Ambrose and Rollins refuse to just fucking get it over with.
Yeah, I had a little fun with that angle.
Yeah, they at least mentioned this week the fact that they did hug last week but wouldn't fist bump.
They should just fucking get it over with.
Exactly. I think I've been saying that too. Oh, make out. Yeah, and then we had
I think that was my line immediately following. It was like, oh, you know, they're not too upset at each other to hug, but fuck if they're gonna fist bump.
Yeah, and we mentioned that on the show last week as well. Stealing things from you in whole cloth because you weren't here. But then we had the setup with the whole 007 thing where Rollins gets all pissy with them backstage. We get the one-on-one match. Rollins actually pulls out the victory and then gets the shit kicked out of him. So Dino comes out and makes the save. So they are building towards that tag title match at SummerSlam. Again, anything that keeps Dean Ambrose out of the Intercontinental title picture is perfectly all right with me.
Oh,
what was that?
Well, we have a couple of Tron says no Mojo on SmackDown, frowny face, and
hooray!
Fuck Mojo.
Yeah, sorry, Tron, your Mojo supporter isn't here this week.
Sorry, yeah, no, you're not getting any Mojo support from me. But speaking of his Mojo supporter, Andy checks in on the side and says, I think he's asking Tron, do you fall asleep during hour 3 of Raw or this podcast? Sorry, Andy. When I'm on, we like to actually cover the things that happened this week. But
Daddy and Daddy are fighting again.
Insert questionable endeavor shadow vein plug here. And it says, just saying hi, guys, back to writing. And like I said, thanks for stopping by, Andy. And then Tron says, yes, I assume in regards to which of the 3rd hours he falls asleep during. And, you know, that's okay because by the 3rd hour, I've got my pants on. So it's probably parental guidance only. My pants off, I should say. But yeah, Andy, if you're still there, I said earlier, thanks for filling in for me. I appreciate it. Matt on the side says, best main event on Raw I've seen in a while. I assume he's not talking about Cass and then Big Show.
It was so bad.
Did Cass change his music this week?
I think so.
Okay, I thought so too. I didn't even put it on the list because I couldn't give a fuck less of this. I actually cared more about Elias, not Samson, and Kalisto than I did about Cass and
yeah, it's painfully obvious that now that the Finn Elias thing is over with, they're like, what do we do with him now? Give him Kalisto till we figure something out. But my favorite part of the Cass versus Big Show match was the very end when Big Show hit Cass with the knockout punch, and then they both at the same time in almost the exact same manner fell over onto the canvas.
Yeah, I didn't put this match on the rundown for a reason, Adam.
Synchronized bumping. Anyways,
it was awful. It was
not good.
Fucking terrible. Anyway, we're talking about Ambrose and Rollins and how they refuse to fuck. But this is a recurring theme throughout the show. The will they or won't they? Will they put it in just the tip just for a second just to see how it feels? I don't know what's going on. Clearly, we're heading towards a tag team title match with Cesaro and Sheamus at SummerSlam. I will give Sheamus credit in terms of a good line when they were talking about how he couldn't find anyone to hang out with. They couldn't do an episode of Ride Along. It would have to be Ride Alone. That was good. Give him credit for that.
Yeah.
I liked Ambrose had a great line too. I forget. Oh God, I forget what it was. But I sort of like the way Ambrose is playing this. I'm not the world's biggest Ambrose fan. Obviously, anybody who's listened to the show knows that. That's Sal. But I like the way I like his performance here. And I sort of hope we get to a point, maybe they win the tag titles at SummerSlam and Ambrose turns on him shortly thereafter and kind of pays him back. That'd be the ideal way.
I've actually been thinking that this week. The whole build to this angle is Ambrose saying that he can't trust Seth. Completely blanked on his name right there. And so the ultimate ending to this should obviously be Ambrose turning on Rollins. And I think that's I hope that's where we're heading, because we've said on this show for many weeks now that a Dean Ambrose heel turn would be a good thing for him and possibly interesting. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Kogo Sean on the side says, "Oh, is it that time of the show when the Questionable Endeavor Network hosts do a cameo? Don't mind if I do." So there you have it.
You don't even host a show anymore. What are you even doing?
Well, if China ever does another porno.
There you go. Don't forget my suit when you go to Fenway tomorrow. Don't be like me.
Oh, is he picking it up for you?
Yes, because he's going to the game tomorrow night.
Okay.
Anywho, the ultimate ending of this is a Dean Ambrose.
Jesus Christ! You leave your suit at Fenway, and you won't even go pick it up. Jesus Christ!
The problem is that I have a show on Saturday, and they don't open fan services until 4:00 because that's 3 hours before the game. So,
and how is Kogo Sean going to pick up your suit when he's dead? It's like fucking the ending of. I
didn't tell you he's a poltergeist.
The ending of The Sixth Sense. That joke would have been a lot funnier if I had remembered the name of the movie right off the bat, but it is what it is.
See, even you screw up sometimes.
Oh, I screw up all the time. I just have confidence when I screw up, so it doesn't sound that way.
There you go.
It's all about confidence. So yeah, what do we think that they're gonna get the tag titles off of 007? Is that where we're gonna go here?
I feel like they are, because that's the way they typically book these things.
And I think
these two guys don't like each other.
Right.
Oh my God, they won the tag titles.
Well, we sort of talked about how we think the Revival are the next guys to kind of run with those titles, but you need to have a face team to get
right
to that with, and maybe Ambrose and Rollins provide that kind of bridge face team.
Yep. And then Ambrose turns on Rollins.
Right. That makes sense.
Ta-da.
We just booked it for you, folks.
We just booked whatever the pay-per-view after SummerSlam is.
Goddamn,
Val. Speaking of the Intercontinental title and not Dean Ambrose, Jason Jordan on Miz TV this week gets that.
Oh, good God. Look, Adam, you can attest. I was the goddamn biggest American Alpha booster.
Yep.
Love them as a team.
Yep.
Part of the reason I love them as a team is because Chad Gable is very charismatic and entertaining. Jason Jordan was not, except in the ring where he is very good. Yeah. So they kind of helped each other out in that regard. First off, let me just say, I'm a big fan of CFO $. Love those guys. I think they've had some great themes. I don't know if these are them, if it's them coming up with Big Cass's theme song and then Jason Jordan's new theme song. This music was god fucking awful. It was terrible. It sounded like they were in Pittsburgh. It sounded like the Pittsburgh fucking high school marching band was performing this fucking song. It was terrible. Awful, terrible. I would rather him come out to Kurt Angle's theme song. Seriously.
Jordan.
I would that would have been better. And I think for the gimmick that would look, Angle and Jordan are both find themselves in a horrible position of trying to have to sell an angle that everyone knows is complete bullshit and try to make it real and try to do something with it. The fans are already rejecting it. Jordan is put in a really horrible spot of having to do an angle he knows isn't working, but the guys in the back haven't fucking caught on yet. So here he is. He goes out, he does Miz TV. He's not the best promo, and it showed.
It also did not help that he was just calling Kurt.
Right.
Not my dad. You don't talk about Kurt like that.
Well, you know what? Honestly, if you're a kid who's been estranged from a guy and you don't know, sometimes I can envision you wouldn't necessarily be calling him dad right off the bat. That sort of actually more rang true to me than anything else. But the Miz did an amazing job carrying the segment, like you knew he was going to have to do, and that's what Miz does well. Bo Dallas traded in his Lieutenant Dan gear for an actual suit. It looked nice.
I did like the overhead suplex spot into the
Yes. Yes, that was tremendous. Very well done. Yeah, Jordan, technically, as a wrestler, no problems. It's just he's not the best promo. He's much better off in a tag team with a guy like Gable who can kind of carry the entertaining, engaging part of that product. But he's going to have to kind of learn on the fly, and he's doing his best. And it looks like we're headed to Jordan and Miz at SummerSlam. Now, my gut instinct tells me that Jason Jordan is going to be the Intercontinental Champion after SummerSlam. Unfortunately, my gut instinct told me last year that Apollo Crews would be the Intercontinental Champion after SummerSlam. And none of that worked out. Apollo wasn't even good enough to make it out with Titus Worldwide this week. So,
yeah. But Akira was wearing the new T-shirt.
Yes.
Good God.
$19.99, pal. Goddamn. Go pick one up.
Nobody is going to buy that.
Kogo Sean on the side just said, just listen to Jason Jordan's new theme song. Which level from Sonic the Hedgehog did they take it from? And then said, forget Kurt Angle. I'm thinking his father might be Dr. Robotnik.
Robotnik, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Dr. Eggman.
That's a reference I do not get.
It's never his name. Dr. Robotnik was the big bad in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay. I was more of a Nintendo guy.
Yeah. Hey, Sega Genesis does what Nintendo don't, all right?
You mean
Exactly.
Make shitty games?
You don't talk about Alex Kidd that way.
Kid Icarus? Kid Dixerus?
And the bat, something the acrobat, whatever the fuck that was. Anyways, Gable versus Rusev, another match I did not see.
That happened on SmackDown. It was interesting. I think you sort of expected it to be Rusev kind of getting some of his heat back after losing to Cena in the much anticipated, very volatile flag match, which, by the way, Andy fucking sucked. It was awful, terrible. It broke all sorts of rules. Flags touching the ground, which should never happen. Flag matches are you climb up, you get the flag, you wave that shit, and you win. You don't go back up to a podium. It was dumb. It had no place on the card. And it did Rusev no favors to lose that match.
Which we said the week before during predictions.
Right. That said, Rusev needed a little bit of a comeback. Gable had a very good showing and then ended up losing. But Gable did show flashes of what he could be as a single star, and I think that's what we've sort of seen the last few years. He kept the very good American Alpha music. So
that was my favorite thing I saw about this match was Chad Gable gets the theme song in the divorce.
Yes. Well, see, here's the thing, Adam. During the match, I know you didn't see it. During the match, Chad Gable locked on the ankle lock on Rusev. So here's my thing, right? We're going to find out Kurt Angle, being the talented coxman he is, also banged Chad Gable's mom. And Gable and Jordan are half brothers. And American Alpha rides again, motherfucker.
There you go. There you go.
Master coxman, that Kurt Angle.
But I thought Daniel Bryan was Chad Gable's dad because he was a very virile 5-year-old.
You think we can do Master Coxman as a title, or do you think iTunes won't allow that?
I might be able to make that work.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, well, speaking of which, RIP to Smacking Talk.
Yeah.
Because it's been canceled. I don't think anybody that saw that thought that was going to last very long. Once the Office caught wind of that, I think we all knew they were going to shut that shit down pretty quick.
Oh, but it was so funny. I am your dad. Hooray!
But what are they going to do with Tout now? That's the real question.
I think Daniel Bryan.
And there you go again.
Motherfuck.
And now you're Barry White again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having
I'll be right back.
difficulties. We're having more technical difficulties. So yeah, Rusev defeats Gable. In the process of defeating Gable, celebrates, grabs the mic, cuts a little bit of a promo. Rusev almost seemed scared and surprised that his music hit at one point, but later on, Orton comes out. They have a little back and forth. Orton, who's apparently now completely over the Great Khali, screwing him out of his title because there's no reference to Orton and Khali, no RKO, no nothing to get him his heat back. Just a random Khali appearance, and then he's gone, and Orton's moved on to other things, apparently.
Thank God. The less Khali, the better.
No, not working. It's not working. I can hear you, but it's way overmodulated. So Orton comes out and challenges Rusev to a match at SummerSlam because that's one that everybody's been scrambling to see for a very long time, except not at all. So now the match is official. We have the Viper versus what's Rusev's nickname?
The Bulgarian Brute.
There you go. Because everyone's got to have a nickname, pal.
Yep.
And that's at SummerSlam. And this probably means the Usos and the New Day off the card.
No, they'll be on the kickoff show.
Well, you look at Raw, we're probably, the way it's playing out, we're looking at 2 tag team matches just from the Raw side with the title match and then probably the triple threat it looks like we're getting from the Hardys and the Club and
it's like that WrestleMania when Miz Orison fought the Colognes, Carlito and Primo, to unify the tag team titles, and it was a dark match.
Who fought Carlito?
Miz Orison.
What?
Miz Morrison.
They had a team name.
Eminem, whatever.
No,
that was the other
wasn't
guys.
a team name.
What was it? I honestly don't remember at this point.
Why could that not be a trivia question? God damn it.
It'll come to me eventually. Anyways, yeah, the tag title unification being a dark match at WrestleMania.
Well, in any event, so yeah, Rusev gets his win back against Gable, and we set up the match nobody wants to see at SummerSlam. A match that people I think do want to see, though. We furthered the storyline between Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor this week. Bray comes out and cuts another just rambling promo that I think nobody really understood what he was talking about. But it got interesting when the lights went out and they started flashing red, and I thought we were getting the demon. Because typically the red flashing lights signify the demon rather than just Finn Balor. But alas, no Finn Balor. My wife was a little disappointed. No demon, I should say, was Finn Balor. My wife was a little disappointed, but then quickly got over it when they showed his abs. But strangely, just standing there, Raven style, arms out, waiting for Bray to hit him. Bray goes to sort of mocks him, then go, why am I staring at Finn Balor's crotch?
This is for your wife if she's watching.
Okay.
Right.
My wife is a grown-ass woman. She doesn't get off on action figures. Just the action of this figure, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so then Balor hits the overhead kick. Which I can't shit on Cole for because apparently that's what Balor wanted him to call it. He didn't want him to call it the Pele. That's the story I've heard at least. But
the Pele is AJ's move.
Hits that and then hits the running drop kick, which apparently was so powerful it levitated Bray Wyatt in the air up and over the guardrail. But so that's a program I'm actually looking forward to at SummerSlam, seeing those guys in the ring together. I would assume seeing the return of the Demon.
I would hope so.
So I think this is where we're setting it up for. I'm actually looking forward to this one. So
yeah, I mean, I enjoy anything that Finn Balor does. So, and I'm still a fan of Bray Wyatt. So I am all for this combination and seeing what they can do with each other. So
yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say we can probably, in the interest of time, skip this next topic because I don't think anybody cares about Naomi and Becky versus Carmella and Natalya. It's a thing that happened. Naomi and Becky win. Carmella doesn't cash in. Natty is pissed at Carmella for losing or blind tagging her or some shit. I don't know.
Apparently, it's Naomi versus Carmella on SmackDown next week. So
yeah, I wasn't here last week to touch on it, and I don't think either of you did because I wasn't here to remind you. But on SmackDown, I thought Natalya cut a very good promo, which is not something I always say about Natalya by any stretch. When she made a point to say she had desecrated the championship and she made it turn into a toy, and she was going to restore true glory to that championship. I thought it was a very well done promo by Natty, whether it was just written well for her or she delivered it well. I thought it was good.
I don't remember.
Okay.
My memory is not what it used to be.
Which will take us to our next topic, which is always one of Adam's favorite parts of the show. So go ahead, Adam.
I did, and I actually did get to see it because I did see the clip that they posted on Twitter. Fashion Peaks this week, the Twin Peaks takeoff for the Fashion Police. Tyler Breeze is alone in the office. He's trying to figure out who kidnapped Fandango.
Deputy Dongo.
Deputy Dongo. Oh, Deputy Dongo. What do we have on the bulletin board? We had blue velvet,
Velvet Blue McIntyre.
Velvet Blue McIntyre. Oh, there are so many. I just watched this like 10 minutes ago before we started. Well, more than 10 minutes because we've been doing this for an hour, but you know what I mean. And then everything turns red. Dongo is dancing weirdly, speaking backwards and then the Ascension appear out of nowhere to pour maple syrup on a log and smell a rose and prick Fandango with a thorn while they all dance and laugh backwards. And then it was all a dream, man.
But we are to believe that this was a hint as to who it was, because at a certain point, Tyler Breeze said, "I know who kidnapped."
Indeed. So it was.
Clearly it was Lumberjake.
I was going to say Adam Rose, but that works too.
It is interesting. I hope for the sake of entertainment that when we find out who it is, the maple syrup on the log and the rose and the thorn, and it all makes sense.
I hope so.
Perhaps. Wait a second.
Because I was trying to figure it out.
The rose and the thorn, Every Rose Has a Thorn, was a song by Poison.
Yeah.
So perhaps it involves poison.
So it's Tajiri or...
I'll have to think on this.
Yeah.
Log and syrup. Syrup wood.
Maple wood.
Maplewood. Oh, Maplewood. There you go.
Poison Maplewood. Poison sumac. Poison oak. It was poison ivy. Poison ivy kidnapped Fandango. Figured it out.
Was Poison Maplewood the name of the milkman that Kane beat up a little while ago?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, all right, I'm still going with Lumberjake then.
But his name was also Jake.
There you go. Cousin Larry's from the backwoods.
There you go.
Country Fried. WWE debut confirmed.
There we go. And they didn't say anything on Sunday, those bastards.
Right? So that leads us, and these next two topics kind of bleed together. We had Alexa Bliss cut a promo on Raw, and I found this very interesting because though last week Bayley wins the match to earn the shot at SummerSlam, again, fucking inexplicably.
Yeah.
Alexa comes on Raw this week and essentially cuts a promo on Sasha.
Yeah, she tells whoever, was it Renee or Dasha?
It was
whoever
Charlie.
It was. With Charlie. I've talked enough about Bayley. Like, okay, but that's your opponent.
And then at a certain point, Alexa says, "But with Sasha being halfway across the country on a tour, there's nobody to watch Bayley's back." Apparently, nobody who wrote this script realized that on the WWE's Instagram, they posted a video of Sasha backstage with Charlie that very afternoon. And it's interesting, and the only reason I really even know about this is because
it's a quick tour.
It was, what happened was they did a segment where Charlie's kind of doing this just on the spot. Hey, this is going to be a great night for Raw, blah, blah, blah. And then you see someone get up behind her from very pasty white person, get up from behind her and walk across the screen. And she plays it off like she doesn't know what it was. And because of the pasty whiteness, a lot of people started circulating on the internet that Paige was making her return. Later, come to find out they're doing something with like a zombie line, and it was Sasha kind of made to look pale like a zombie as part of that gimmick. But so we knew Sasha was there. Your own social media put that out there, and then the writers gimmicked that she wasn't in the building and she was halfway across the country. Just really poor continuity.
On a tour. Like the worst excuse. A tour for what?
USO. It was just really bad, really poorly done. So they do that promo, and then they go to a match where Bayley faces Nia, and Nia damn near kills her.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen a whole lot of the angle where I saw it when she threw her down to the floor, which seems to be where the shoulder was injured.
Yeah.
It was very kind of cut around the ring post, so I didn't get a great look at what happened there. I was hoping to get another look at a good angle of it, but I didn't.
They never gave us a good angle of it on Raw. Nia was trying to throw her out of the ring and ended up basically throwing her straight into the mat.
Yeah. So I don't know whose fault that was. I know Nia's developed a bit of a reputation for not being the safest person to work with. Mm-hmm. But in any event, Bayley gets the win, and we'll have more on the Bayley story later on in the news section. But things are very interesting. Put it this way: if Alexa went out and cut the promo on Sasha prior to Bayley getting injured, it's very convenient.
Yeah. And it was weird because Kogos Sean had actually posted in our host thread asking if the Bayley injury was legit. And I said, based on the awkwardness of the spots they did right after it, I thought maybe it was. But then the fact that they actually continued the match makes me think that it's not.
Well, no, I mean, Triple H finished a match with a torn quad.
True,
that doesn't.
True.
These guys and girls are conditioned. You go out and you finish the match unless you absolutely can't. But the part, and I'll get to it in the news section a little bit more, but there was an article on WWE.com regarding Bayley's injury, during which the physician said something to the extent of, well, we'll know more next week.
Work.
Right. At that point, all my smart alarms went off. And
right. Yeah.
Did I just coin that phrase, smart alarm?
Smart alarm.
I think I'm gonna count that as mine and run with it.
Trademark. And our final topic.
Go ahead. What's the topic?
Be very simply titled, AIDS wins again.
Because unfortunately, AIDS always seems to win.
Unless you're Magic Johnson.
Right. Or have a Magic Johnson, which makes you impervious.
Or just a perv. Either way. Yeah, it was Aiden versus Sami Zayn, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, what do we think about Kanellis losing at the pay-per-view, losing this week on last week on SmackDown, and then not being on SmackDown at all this week?
I'm not worried about it. I'm not gonna jump on the hey, they ruined him bandwagon. He suffered a couple losses. It happens. It's not a big deal. Plenty of people have suffered, come back from worse. So
yeah, just look at Sami Zayn.
Exactly. Coco Sean says the zombie from WCW is returning. Finally, no, not quite.
No, the zombie from ECW.
Yes.
The Yeti.
Right.
In the coming weeks on Nitromania.
Which whoever said it was not Kevin Nash. I don't know who. I don't forget who said that. Was it Smathers? I don't know.
Somebody in the chat room a few weeks ago. Yeah.
It was Ron Reese.
Yeah. And is not on cagematch.net, oddly enough.
No.
Anyway. Yeah, so is that all we have to say? Is that AIDS always wins? That's all right.
Yeah, I don't know if this is some sort of renewed push for Aiden English. If it is, it's just Vince trying out a new toy, and then he'll quickly put it back in the toy box. They did tie the Canelli back into this thing by coming out and just saying they were glad Sammy lost. Like, right. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I guess I don't know. Which is about as nonsensical as my boy Neville being in full gear with his hair wet despite not working on a match at all. No dark match, no nothing. I don't get the point of that, but
You always got to be ready. You always got to be ready.
I guess. Speaking of the Canelli, they made an appearance on this week's version of Up, Up, Down, Down, which if you have not seen, I encourage you to go check out just for Kevin Owens' little cameo. I sent it to you on Twitter, Adam. Check your Twitter mentions.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a great little moment where they've got Xavier Woods is playing Wheel of Fortune with Tyler Breeze, and the loser gets cake smashed in their face. But while they're doing it, they're at the arena, and they've got this big American flag kind of thing behind them on the background. And a couple guys are in and out throughout the. Renee Young makes an appearance, and then Kofi, et cetera, et cetera. And then Kevin Owens just says, oh, hey, Kevin. He's like, oh, you guys, you have flag here. I guess you don't mind if I just... And he picks up the whole set and walks away with it because it's a flag. And Xavier's like,
he is the new face of America.
That's my set, but okay, you're taking that. Like, it was great. I encourage you to go check it out just because of that.
I certainly will.
Because Kevin Owens is a genius.
He is, really.
But sadly, based on the fact that he is back to the merch without the flag on it, perhaps the era of the new face of America is officially over.
Sad.
Although it was still on his Titantron, so who knows? It's not really a Titantron anymore because now it's all bendy and curvy like a...
Yeah. I don't know what to call it. It doesn't, because it doesn't play the entrance videos anymore. So,
or have pyro.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Sal and see if there's anything we missed.
I don't miss Sal.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. But Sal's too good to come on the show.
Guys, it's Sal, and I got a little question for you. If somebody were to ask you the night after WrestleMania, what will be your main event for SummerSlam, would anybody at that point have said that we would get a fatal four-way between Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and Samoa Joe on one side, and Shinsuke Nakamura challenging Jinder Mahal for the WWE title on the other? No, nobody would have said that, and everybody would have looked at you like you had six heads if you had even made that suggestion. However, here we are going into SummerSlam, and we now have Shinsuke Nakamura challenging for the WWE Championship. Now, a lot of people think he is going to win and Corbin's going to cash in on him. I'm going to be a mark, and I'm going to say as long as he wins, even if it's for 2 minutes, I could care less, because then Shinsuke Nakamura was the WWE Champion. But as much as I want Shinsuke to be the champ, I'm not sure if that's where they're going. It's a nice little match. I thought him and Cena had a great match on SmackDown, but I don't see Shinsuke Nakamura becoming WWE Champion. On the other side of the coin, we get AJ Styles and Kevin Owens for the U.S. title with Shane McMahon as the special referee. All signs pointing to Shane versus KO at some point down the road. Now, some things are not working during in the wonderful world of the WWE, like Big Cass. I'm sorry, guys, but that match against the Big Show was boring. And Big Cass is boring. Imagine how worse this feud would be without any Enzo Amore involvement. Speaking of boring, somebody please give Jason Jordan an edge. Maybe, a fire, a personality, something. Because Miz was trying everything he could do to get that out of him, and it just didn't work. So here we go on the road to SummerSlam. And what a fucking strange road it is. Talk to you guys later.
I think that covers it then.
Coco Sean on the side says the Yeti is indeed on Cage Match. You have to search for Yeti instead of the Yeti.
Oh, well, that was my issue.
Or perhaps you screwed it up by typing it as Yeti.
No, stupid me searched for the Yeti.
All right. Tron says, I miss Sal, and that makes one of us.
All right. The discussion topic this week: Raccoon Reigns wins again,
Thank you, AJ Styles.
and has a discussion topic for us. I did put it in the Google document, so you've had time to prepare for this. The women's division in WWE
Yeah,
is
except
going
I just looked at it. So
pretty strong right now. But who was your favorite diva from 2007 to 2012-ish? You know, that 2012-ish. Basically the era when work rate was disregarded and they just had a bunch of pretty faces holding the belt. And yes, you have to pick one. You cannot pass. My pick for this actually came pretty quickly.
Was that so? So let me just, because as we've discussed, I'm horrible at years in terms of when stuff happened. I'm assuming, based on the framing of the question, that we're talking post Lita and Trish, but pre like AJ Lee.
Basically, yeah, the Divas era, the Braun panties
Well,
match.
I mean, AJ Lee was a Divas champion, but
you know what I mean. Yeah, before they actually brought in the women who could wrestle again.
Okay. Well, mine comes to me easily too. So
yeah, the first name that popped into my mind, actually, just speaking of them, was Maria Kanellis. I was a big fan of hers. Even the ditz gimmick that they gave her. Especially when she was the judge in that trial on Raw that time and was suddenly smart all of a sudden. That made me laugh. I've always been a fan of Maria, so she was my pick right off the bat.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, mine would be Eve Torres. On top of the fact that, for my money, she is quite possibly the most stunning woman that's ever participated in a WWE ring. She was one of the few that could actually seemed to put in the effort and wanted to get better, and could actually go. I mean, she's, running an MMA studio with her husband, who's one of the Gracies at this point. So, she's very physical. She knows what she's doing in there. She had some pretty good matches, especially towards the end of her run, and was, like I said, absolutely gorgeous. So,
yeah. And then you had all the ones that were just there to be pretty. Your Tori Wilson.
Well, Tori Wilson was before. Tori Wilson was around the Trish time. But if you want to include either Stacy Keeblers, who would be in that same kind of grouping, Kelly,
Rosa Mendez.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. Who else do we have around then? Let me think. You had Gail Kim around that time.
Yeah, Miss Kitty is too early because that was the 90s. But who was it? I'm blanking.
Oh, Kogo Sean said Maria barely ever wrestled. New answer, and then corrected himself, saying that he actually just consulted Cage Match, and it seems that Maria wrestled quite a bit more than he thought. And then he says no love for Melina, and Melina's another good one. I was always a big fan of Melina. Loved that entrance.
And also, you didn't say anything about Raccoon Reigns. Didn't say anything about them having to wrestle. Just who was your favorite diva? So shut up. That's my pick. All right. I thought I enjoyed Melina's entrance, certainly.
There's Maria Menounos of the shitty pants.
Of course.
I mean, during that era, you also had your Natalias come in, where she developed a reputation of being such a good worker because she was in the ring with those guys.
Yeah.
But your Beth Phoenixes were in that era as well.
We've had this discussion on the show before. I know you're not as a big fan of Beth Phoenix. I am a fan of Beth Phoenix.
She can work. Don't get me wrong. I was just never a fan of her, what she did in there, but she could definitely work.
Glamorella still makes me laugh.
I'm trying to think of who else we had in that era. Who was it? Ashley Massaro.
Yeah. And Caitlyn was an NXT kind of thing. Kind of came up with AJ Lee. So I guess
Caitlyn could actually work too, though. I was actually a fan of
Caitlyn. A big fan of Caitlyn. She needs to come back. Ashley Massaro.
JBL would be very happy if Caitlyn came in. By the way, and I don't have it in the news segment, but this past week, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a stripper who apparently took to Twitter to basically rip a new one to Enzo Amore.
I did not see that at all.
A poor experience. Enzo Amore stopped by her strip club, and apparently she had a bad experience with him, and she took to Twitter to let everyone know about it in a series of tweets, basically calling him cheap, saying he was looking for the black girls with the big booties, and et cetera, et cetera. And then at one point during Raw, Corey Graves made a line, something to the extent of, "I hear Enzo's not a good tipper." So this has clearly gotten around in the locker room. And then on the episode of Bring It to the Table following Raw, they discussed the notion that Enzo has heat and had to dress outside the locker room, got kicked out of the locker room.
Yeah.
And JBL and Corey essentially confirmed that was in fact true, and that, Miz was really one of the only people that ever actually came back from that treatment. So they don't seem very optimistic, perhaps, for Enzo's future.
I enjoyed.
Are you looking up Enzo's stripper story?
No, I was looking at the GIF of Kevin Owens.
It's great, right?
I enjoyed Bring It to the Table this week. I have enjoyed all the episodes of Bring It to the Table that I've watched. I know there are some folks in the host thread who are not a big fan, but mostly because of Peter Rosenberg. But
yeah, I used to listen to Peter Rosenberg's show, and even I can't do it anymore. It's just fucking horrible now. But since Shoemaker left, but go check out the Masked Man show on iTunes.
I enjoyed that one of the topics this week was, are there too many wrestling podcasts?
Yes. Yeah, there absolutely are. But what are you gonna do?
Sorry.
We have no problem jumping aboard that gravy train. Fuck. People have been telling me that they've had enough of me for a long time. Stop me.
I mean, we've been on this gravy train since 2011, so
there aren't a whole lot of podcasts that have been on longer than the Rundown. So,
but there are sure a shitload that are more popular. Hey,
this is true.
And I like that both Graves and JBL dropped Pritchard as one of the few that they listened to.
Yeah. Huh. Roll Tide on that.
So
you know who doesn't listen to the Pritchard show?
Oh.
You?
Not yet. I'm getting to it. Give me 6 years.
Once the stuff is not evergreen, Adam. So once it's 2-3 years old, you can just delete it and forget it ever happened.
You don't know me, man. Don't talk to me like you know me. On that odd note, that I believe brings us to the news this week.
All right, I am going to attempt to get through this. I am still very stuffy from my cold, but we'll see what we can do. A couple of these stories, I think, were things that I had grabbed for last week, but since nobody wanted to bother to do a news segment last week, I saved them for this week because I thought they were still interesting. So there has been talk of doing another superstar shakeup after the SummerSlam pay-per-view, according to reports by PWN Insider and the Wrestling Observer. The WWE had previously held a roster shakeup in April after WrestleMania. While it might seem early to do another one, the Observer notes that there is definitely talk of making a few roster moves in the fall. There has also been talk of sending one or more superstars from the main roster down to NXT. The moves from the main roster to NXT would be for talents that were major stars in NXT that Vince McMahon is simply not going to push on Raw or SmackDown, even if they are over, a.k.a. Ty Dillinger. Or talents who are doing nothing on the main roster with the feeling that they could be more useful as top stars in NXT. So I guess that question then would become, who, if you were booking the territory, if you will, who would you send down to NXT? Who do you think would benefit from a move down to NXT, and who do you think NXT would benefit from having?
I don't like this because all these guys that I would think of would be guys that I enjoy having. I enjoy the fact that they're now on the main roster. Your Ty Dillingers, I mean, even a Sami Zayn at this point, because he's not doing a lot.
I think Mike Kanellis would be huge in NXT.
Oh yeah, certainly. I think you could certainly bring up a Bobby Roode or a Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
But Drew's got to have his title run first. So
yeah, and Killian Dane would probably be ready for a run in the main roster.
Sure. I would love to see what the production would be able to do with Aleister Black's entrance on the main roster as well.
Is there a way we could parlay what happened to the fashion police this week to sanity? Is there any way to tie those together?
Well, wasn't it you that thought of the thing gets the authors of pain this whole time?
Yeah.
So now you're switching gears.
I don't know. I said all along when I thought they weren't going to do it till after SummerSlam, they were going to do it before or after SummerSlam. That it could be the authors of pain because I thought that would have to happen after SummerSlam. But they're having Sanity versus the authors of pain at the NXT Takeover before SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Whichever one doesn't win the titles that night could very much be the team called up. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, there certainly is a precedent for that. So, yeah, I think I do think at this point, given what they have not done with him, I think you obviously mentioned it. Dillinger would be I think better served going back down. Give him an NXT title run maybe at some point.
Yeah, I'd feel horrible for him because
I
he's
know
a guy who got called up in NXT, never really got a chance to do anything, and is now really almost a victim of circumstance. Because I think a feud with him and Miz would have been great, except Miz got moved to Raw right before Dillinger got called up, so it just kind of fell and ends up on the brand where the mid-card title is being feuded for by two main event guys.
Right. Yeah. I don't even know how you fix that. I mean,
if only a famous WWE star had banged Dillinger's mom. God damn it.
I'm just picturing Ty Dillinger as the illegitimate son of the Ultimate Warrior.
The way Kurt Angle was tossing jizz around the country that time of year, that back in the day, who knows who's. Although I don't know if you saw it, there was this great photo of like Kurt Angle, his wife, and all of his kids, and Jason Jordan's there, and they're all.
I thought they were all wearing the gold-blooded t-shirts.
Yes, oh, that's kind of funny. Anyway, moving on. Several Raw superstars met up with GFW wrestlers. Notice they don't call them superstars at a bar after the July 17th Raw in Nashville. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Karen Jarrett approached Braun Strowman at the bar, but it's believed that Strowman had no idea who she was. Karen commented that Braun was one of her son's favorite wrestlers and asked for an autograph. Strowman was reportedly rude to Karen and may have sworn at her. This turned into a scene at the bar with Karen immediately cut a major loud promo on Strowman for blowing her off. While Karen was ranting at Braun, she mentioned that she was going to tell her son's father, Kurt Angle, about what happened. Strowman then changed his tune and said he would sign the autograph. Begging Karen not to tell Kurt or anyone else, Strowman also apologized. Karen said she was still going to tell Kurt, which led to Braun saying that he would get on his knees and beg her not to. Karen said she was still going to tell him what happened. Braun then got on his knees in front of a bunch of WWE talents and begged Karen not to. Karen said something to the tune of, "You're acting like that because you found out that Kurt Angle is the father of my son. But even if he wasn't, Braun should not have acted like that to a mom who was trying to get her son an autograph." Braun said that she was right and he was sorry. Two more websites have confirmed that there was an incident between the two. However, there are conflicting accounts of what actually happened. PWI Insider followed up with their side of the story, saying that the two did have a conversation, but that witnesses told them it was just two drunk people getting loud with each other and nothing else. PWI Insider also claims that Jarrett was the one that was belligerent towards Strowman, which caused him to lash out. Meltzer, who originally reported the story for the Wrestling Observer newsletter, said that Strowman may have sworn at her, and according to Voices of Wrestling, the alleged vulgar phrase that Strowman said to Karen when she asked for an autograph was, quote, "fuck your son."
Now, when this was first sent around in our host thread last week, I questioned the veracity of this story. The two additional reports certainly don't help to clear the waters any. But I just don't. There's something about this that just does not ring true to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always hard to tell with stuff like this because you talk about people who are drunk. So you sit there and you talk about their personalities, and that's not how they are, but they're drunk. So who knows?
Right. And how do you remember that clearly? What happened when you were drunk?
Right. On the side, Coco Sean says, "What? No love for Candice Michelle either." And yep, a little bit of sugar never hurt nobody. And then says, "Did the stripper have a bad experience with Enzo because she was grinding on him and he remained SAWFT soft?" I don't know. You would have to ask her. There's a picture of her on the whole article that I found.
Always with the puns.
Kairi Sane, who is currently on the injured list after the WWE newcomer sustained a concussion during the Mae Young Classic tapings earlier this month. Sources with direct knowledge tell people that the former Stardom ace and Joshi star is dealing with some neck pain, but officials expect her to be cleared for return in early August. It is unclear which match the injury occurred during, or how exactly it went down. Because officials have been told she will get the green light next month because she's ready to go. The injury shouldn't stop her from wrestling in September at the Mae Young Classic event for the finals in Las Vegas, Nevada. So they're doing a TV special.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the women who hadn't made it to the finals will be competing in a showcase kind of deal, similar to what they did with the cruiserweights.
Yep.
So she will be involved in that.
Good. We know everybody gets a little skittish around concussions, so we do hope that she heals up quickly and heals up fully. So.
Yeah, and we touched a little bit about this earlier. John Cena has landed a role in the upcoming Bumblebee Transformers spin-off movie, according to The Hollywood Reporter. The movie is set in 1987 and focuses on the yellow and black Bumblebee. This is the first spin-off in what Paramount hopes will be a Transformers cinematic universe, which would include prequels and other offshoots. The film is produced by Michael Bay and Lorenzo di Bonaventura. Go with that. With executive producers Steven Spielberg, Brian Goldner, Chris Brigham, and Mark. These people are fucking with me. Varadian. Sure, we'll go with that.
I'll say Varadian.
Sure. Production began this week in California, and the movie will hit theaters December 21st of 2018. And this, to me, is interesting because it sounds like Cena kind of just landed this role. The movie just started filming, and now all of a sudden Cena's no longer in the main event picture of SummerSlam, which leads me to wonder if he's going to be on the show at all, if perhaps they're going to do some sort of an injury angle on SmackDown with him and Strowman. And that's why, not Strowman, him and Corbin, and that's why they kind of pushed him off the card, off the main event part at least.
Perhaps. I mean, I would certainly, I would not...
If you're the producers of this movie, right, and you've paid big bucks to have John Cena in your movie, and you watch what happened in that Nakamura match to his neck, do you want him wrestling another match while he's shooting this movie for you?
Yeah. I mean, I certainly would have no qualms with Corbin versus Cena at SummerSlam. I think that would be a very good contest. But
they already gave it away on free TV, and Cena beat him.
Free TV. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a valid point.
It looks like former WWE champion CM Punk may have his second MMA fight coming soon. Punk's coach,
and he's not here with his theme song.
Punk's coach Duke Rufus of Rufus Sport MMA Academy made a post on his Instagram that indicated Punk will be fighting soon. Punk made his MMA debut at UFC 203 in September of 2016, but quickly lost to welterweight Mickey Gall. UFC President Dana White spoke to the media following the fight and said Punk probably should not have his second fight with the UFC. He probably shouldn't have his next fight in the UFC, was the direct quote. And then he said, just like I said with Brock, having your first fight in the UFC is tough. And you saw, even if it's against a guy who is 2-0, this is a tough place to learn. Punk spoke with Fox Sports in January and insisted that he will fight again, saying, quote, I am working on it feverishly. I am throwing names at Dana White, opponents, dates. I don't know if he's waiting for a Chicago show or what the deal is, but if it doesn't happen in the UFC, it will happen somewhere. I'm dedicated to fighting and training. We will get there. Despite the Instagram post from Duke, another fighter he trains indicated that there is nothing to the post, but that Punk is training to fight again. Which, of course, leads us to the inescapable conclusion, fuck CM Punk. Hashtag forced anal. Adam, your thoughts on another CM Punk fight? I mean, it'll probably be the next time you watch an MMA match. So,
he did so well the first time. I mean,
now would you watch a Brock Lesnar John Jones fight?
Probably not.
Okay, so it's just CM Punk you want to watch fight.
I was intrigued by the spectacle surrounding it. Given how that one went, I don't know that I would seek out the second one.
Or was it just because of Buffalo Wild Wings?
That may have also had something to do with it.
Okay, gotcha. We touched on this earlier, but there is a little bit more to it. Brock Lesnar versus John Jones UFC speculation continued after UFC 214 on Saturday night. Following Jones' lightweight title win over Daniel Cormier, Jones called Lesnar out in the middle of the octagon. UFC president Dana White later commented on the fight and said that it's fun to talk about, but it's not a reality. The WWE Universal Champion responded to the call-out with these comments to the Associated Press, saying, quote, "Be careful what you wish for, young man," end quote. On a related note, Becky Lynch versus new UFC Women's Featherweight Champion Chris Cyborg may be in the works for the WWE SummerSlam pay-per-view. Cyborg called out Becky on Twitter this weekend before beating Tanya Evinger, who looked like a goddamn soccer mom, for the vacant title at UFC 214 on Saturday night. Becky posted a video on Saturday night taunting Cyborg, which led to the UFC champion tweeting a proposal for a match to Triple H.
They did talk about that on Bring It to the Table. I don't know how those crossovers would ever work, because obviously the UFC would not want their champion to lose, and obviously the WWE.
Hold on. If you're Dana White and you want a John Jones Brock Lesnar fight, you say to Vince McMahon, "Hey, I'll give you Chris Cyborg for SummerSlam. You give me Brock Lesnar for November, whatever, at the Garden." I could totally see that. I don't think Chris Cyborg has enough time to train for a match at SummerSlam at this point. So I think we can sort of throw that out. If that's going to happen, it's going to be later on down the line. I still think the kind of tete-a-tete, if you will, is going to be Ronda Rousey being allowed to compete at WrestleMania, but we'll see how that plays out too.
Good kayfabe, by the way, the other week with them showing Ronda Rousey being so proud to present that whatever ESPN award it was to Stephanie McMahon, and them hugging and being friendly and happy.
Well, I mean, it was fucking 2 years ago, dude. She kicked the shit out of her.
Tore her arm off.
Did you ever watch a UFC fight? They beat the shit out of each other and then they hug at the end. It's how it works.
Are they gonna hug?
But yeah, did you have you seen any of Chris Cyborg's fights?
Why do you ask questions you already know the answer to?
I don't know what you've seen.
I have not.
Like if I asked you, have you seen Dentary's penis? I don't know the answer to that question.
I wasn't at that party.
Oh, okay. That would be an inside joke, ladies and gentlemen.
That would be an extremely inside joke.
Inside what is the question? It would appear that Brandy Rhodes is gone from Global Force Wrestling. The promotion recently updated its roster section on ImpactWrestling.com, and she is no longer listed as an active knockout. She is also not listed in the alumni section since her profile was deleted altogether. Rhodes has not addressed her status with Global Force Wrestling. Rhodes, who joined the promotion last September, was last seen on Impact Wrestling in April, competing in a Knockouts #1 contender Gauntlet Battle Royal. Rhodes is now wrestling for Ring of Honor's Women of Honor division. She made her Ring of Honor debut last Saturday at a television taping in Concord, North Carolina, where she teamed with Sumi Siaki against Mandy Leon and Jenny Rose. It was a memorable night for Rhodes since her husband, ROH World Champion, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, also wrestled on the show. She also paid tribute to the late Dusty Rhodes by wearing polka dots.
Is she still garbage?
Yeah, she's still pretty bad.
Okay.
The idea that the guys down in NXT look at these ladies and go, "You'd make a good ring announcer."
Yeah,
is probably a good sign. There's a lot of money in talented women who can wrestle. So if they tell you that you're not one of those women, probably a reason for that.
Mm-hmm. Take the hint. I'm being urged to vamp. Yeah, she wasn't even a good ring announcer. We talked about that many times on this show.
She's hot though.
Yeah, that's all she's got going for her.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, in Vince's eyes, mostly.
WWE has announced that Bayley suffered a right shoulder injury during her Raw match with Nia Jax. Her status for her match with Raw Women's Champion Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam is currently up in the air. WWE's full announcement goes something like this. During her match with Nia Jax on the July 31st edition of Raw, Bayley suffered an injury to her right shoulder. The former Raw Women's Champion was evaluated by medical personnel, but the official diagnosis was inconclusive due to the amount of swelling involved. Bailey has been told to rest her shoulder until next week. At which point,
Handy.
just in time for next week's Raw, where we can find out. At which point, doctors are hopeful that the swelling will have sufficiently gone down, because that takes a week, so that she can be reevaluated and a firm verdict can be reached. Everything just tensed up around it, Bailey told WWE.com shortly after her match, or should I say WWE. I've never had an injury like this before, so I don't really know what it is. I guess we're going to see. Dr. Chris Ammon, CM Punk's best friend, told WWE.com, "We've determined the injury is shoulder related, and it will be undergoing further diagnostic testing later this week to determine the extent of the injury and also establish a timetable for recovery. Initial evaluations were inconclusive due to the swelling in her shoulder. Bailey's status for SummerSlam, where she is slated to face Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship, is up in the air. Bailey isn't the only WWE superstar to get injured recently while wrestling Nia Jax on Raw, as Emma suffered an injury to her eye during their quick match and also got flattened like a fucking pancake."
Yeah. I'm sorry, the phrase the injury is shoulder related just made me laugh. Like, no shit. She got thrown on her shoulder and her shoulder hurts?
I could have sworn it was her knee.
Shoulder related. All right. The injury is shoulder adjacent.
Yeah. And that is going to do it for the news desk. Back over to Adam for the... No, never mind.
Oh, it never gets old.
Yeah. That one will probably have legs forever.
Rest in peace, time traveling Adam.
Yes. But anyway, yeah, we talked about it a little bit. My take on this, my guess on this, if I had to put money on it, is that what they're setting up here is Bailey has pulled out of SummerSlam due to her shoulder injury that is not a knee injury. Replaced in the match by Sasha Banks. Sasha wins the title, and then we set up Sasha and Bailey because Bailey's upset Sasha took her turn and capitalized on it, and et cetera, and hashtag bitches be crazy.
Do you think this is another Seth Rollins knee situation where they had that thing that, oh, that looked bad, let's run with it? Or maybe that, what do you think that maybe the plan all along?
It's possible. That said, if you go back and watch the match after the injury initially occurs, there's a lot of moves done by Nia Jax that are very damaging to a shoulder that could have significant injury to it. Not sure that would have happened if it wasn't planned as part of the story, but
true. Yeah.
Who knows?
It is Nia.
It's true. She could fucking kill someone.
All right. Well, on that note of Bailey's shoulder-related injury, that does it for the rundown for this Wednesday, August 2nd, 2017. 488 days since Asuka won the NXT Women's Championship. For a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial of Audible, go to audibletrial.com/rundown. Make me some money. Brew City Wrestling returns Thursday, August 3rd. That's tomorrow at the Wisconsin State Fair. For information, go to brewcitywrestling1.com. Lucky Pro Wrestling presents Summer Sizzle this Saturday at the Elks Lodge in Clinton, Massachusetts. That's a great Elks Lodge. We have scheduled for that show. Oh, so much stuff here. A special challenge match, Sweat Boy versus Big Jim Anderson. If Sweat Boy beats Jim Anderson, he will get 3 minutes alone in the ring with Mr. Brian Cairo. Also on the card, Cam Zagami versus Patrick Dalton. The team of Adira and Isana versus Helen Vale and Jocelyn. In his final match in Lucky Pro Wrestling, the team of Anthony Green, Eli Markopoulos, and Christian Casanova take on the three horsemen of Scotty Slade, Mike Webb, and Donovan Dijak.
Why would it be Donovan Dijak's last match in Lucky Pro Wrestling?
Well, I think he might be going to Florida for some reason, but I don't know that he's allowed to talk about it.
Well, he might not be, but we are. It sounds, by all indications, that our good friend Donovan Dijak has officially signed with the WWE and will be starting at the Performance Center Very soon he is finishing up the last of his independent dates, and want to absolutely congratulate Donovan Dijak.
100%. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Amazing talent. Had the chance to really work with him early on in his career at APW, where he was handed an interesting gimmick and ran with it and did an amazing job. And always happy to know that Donovan Dijak's first appearance in a professional wrestling sense was serving beer to the Knucklebusters at APW. So good on him, Don. Good on Donovan Dijak.
Absolutely great guy. Just recently, just this past week, did a thing on Facebook for a buddy of ours, referee Kevin Quinn, who had some medical issues. Set up a fundraiser on Facebook. I think there's still like 5 days left on the thing, and they've already raised over $9,000. So good on Dijak. Like I said, couldn't happen to a better guy. He's just one of the best. Yeah. One of the best in New England, and we're very happy for him. And I look forward to telling him that in person on Saturday. Also on Saturday, the tag team champions, the Aristocrats, Tomahawk and Zachary Pierre Beaulieu, defending against the Hoods, Davey Cash and Chris Pyro. The new Hard Knocks champ, Brick Mastone, defending against the Dynasty, Bo Douglas. Women's champion, Davey N, defending against former NXT superstar Deonna Purrazzo. And the LPW title is on the line as the selfie-made man, Vern Vicalo, subject of this week's Rundown Sit-Down, takes on the Punjabi Lion Robo in your main event. That
not a Punjabi prison match.
No, thankfully. There's not room in the Elks Lodge of Clinton for a Punjabi prison, thankfully.
Yes, and you touched on it. Great interview with the selfie-made man, Vern Vicalo. I encourage you to go check out this week's Rundown. Vern touches on a lot of things. We talk about his experiences getting started in the business, the people closest to him, those who have helped him the most. One of the cooler things that I guess he's gotten to do is wrestling at the Gathering of the Juggalos. We talk about that a lot. His recent knee injury, his relationship in LPW, his relationship at UFO and APW, and a lot of great stuff, and very interesting and enlightening conversation.
And again, another one of just the nicest guys you could hope to meet.
Yeah.
So check that out. That was put up on Monday. That is in our feed. Another great interview. Well done.
Thanks, sir.
More sit down.
I saw you accepting thanks from other people for my interview. That was nice.
Got to get my shit in.
Accepting congratulations for Nitromania.
That's because nobody
I
said
had fucking nothing to do with it, but whatever. Steal your gimmick, whatever. It's cool.
What are you doing on August 23rd?
I'll be stealing your suit. I will actually be in Malden, Massachusetts for UFO Wrestling's Big Bang 2017 as we return to the Malden Irish American Club on Wednesday, August 23rd. The doors will open at 7 p.m. for a special meet and greet. Tickets are $12 general admission. Reserved front row seats were still available last time I checked on advanced purchase only, and all other tickets are first come, first serve. We have a great card as the UFO Heavyweight Championship is going to be on the line as Brian Malonis perhaps faces his biggest challenge in the form of Chris Dickinson, a very well-known independent performer. We also have the UFO Tag Team titles on the line as Bo Douglas and Josh Briggs will defend against the Cool People. We have Teddy Goods versus Ilya Markopoulos in a match I'm personally looking very much forward to seeing. We have the aforementioned selfie-made man Vern Vicalo taking on former Impact Wrestling star Robbie E. That's going to be a fun one. And just announced an intergender match as pulling double duty that night. Josh Briggs will be in an intergender action taking on Davey Ann. We also have Furio Falcone, Aaron Amadeus, Benny Jux, and much, much more, all available at UFO's Big Bang Theory, August 23rd. Big Bang, so 2017. I don't want to get sued by anybody. August 23rd at the Malden Irish American Club. Come out and check it out. I will be in the house. No word yet, so I will not be on the rundown that night. So heads up. No word yet on if Sal will be joining me for another UFO show. I think he enjoyed himself last time. So
he doesn't need his computer fixed. So
that's true.
And then 3 days after that, Atlantic Pro Wrestling returns Saturday, August 26th.
Holy shit, I'm going to be busy that week.
At the Boys and Girls Club in Salisbury, Massachusetts. More on the Road to Royalty tournament, I assume.
Yes, we are continuing the road to crowning the first ever king of Atlantic Pro Wrestling.
Nice of Hunter Ward to show up. And then Saturday, September 9th is the return of Liberty States wrestling at the John McCarthy Elementary School in Peabody, Mass. And then ElkMania presents ElkMania 5 on Saturday, September 23rd.
Elks on fire
at the Beverly Salem Elks Lodge in Beverly, Mass. That is all of our gimmicks coming up. Follow us on Twitter at Rundown Podcast. Send us feedback, please, to rundownwrestling@gmail.com.
Did you do Brew City Wrestling?
I did.
Okay.
Tomorrow night.
Okay. Did you do whatever that one Andy talks about is?
SCW? No. I'm not going to look it up. Leave us a voicemail on the hotline. Be like Sal, 617-863-6967.
Does that stand for Seth Eats Crepes with Walnuts?
I doubt it. No. That is 61 Rundown 7. It is Scott.
I know him and Andy have pancake breakfast.
They do every week, no matter where he is on tour. Sometimes they do it via Skype. 61 Rundown 7 to leave a voicemail on the hotline. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/rundown wrestling. Watch archived episodes at youtube.com/rundown podcast. I just went through this week and on the Quest N Network site replaced all the dead Podomatic links with actual MP3 files of the old episodes. If you want to go back through the archives on questendnetwork.com, you can listen to all the old episodes there, at least all the old ones that have been posted since we started questendnetwork.com. If you want to make a donation of the monetary variety, go to paypal.me/rundownwrestling. Cost me $10 a month to host this on Podomatic. If you want to help with that,
probably more soon.
It would be greatly appreciated.
Because Troy keeps adding stuff to your feed.
Check out all the shows on the Questionable Endeavor Network. We got shadowvane.net. We got Shadowvane, Tooning Japanese, the Raw Attitude Podcast. As I think I mentioned earlier, it might have been before we started recording, but I don't think it was. Henry Hugepex just joined me last night to record an upcoming episode of the Nitromania podcast where we cover Halloween Havoc 95 and the Nitro following. If you're one of the people who is not happy with the fact that Nitromania is currently only about 10 minutes per episode,
no. It's the Incredible Shrinking Podcast. Okay? The first one was like 19 minutes, and we're like, oh, it's quick. And the next one was like 16, and then it was 13, and this week it was 10. Every week it's gotten shorter and shorter.
Well, episode 10 coming up on in 5 weeks or so here is 2 hours long. So that'll keep you busy. Talking about Halloween Havoc and the Monster Truck Sumo match. Also check out the Slasher Sanitarium, the PWN Stars, New Blood Rising, Words of Geekdom, everything available on questendnetwork.com, on Twitter at questendnetwork, and enter a contest to win a $25 Amazon.com gift card by going to questendnetwork.com/Discord, joining us on the Discord channel, and filling out the survey on the contest channel.
Are we eligible for that prize? Or?
We're not.
God damn it.
I know.
Check.
I don't know. You'd have to check with Andy. You'd have to check with Andy for the legalities on that. Check out our buddies Brian Malonis and Mike Crockett on the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing, facebook.com/thewpan. Always a quality program over there. You can search for us on iTunes. Just ignore that noise. On iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, or Podomatic under the Rundown Wrestling Podcast. If you subscribe, you get the podcast delivered to you absolutely free each and every week for $0.00. If you cannot afford a monetary donation, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes because that helps other people find us. If you leave a text review, we'll read your name in your review at the end of a future episode.
I apologize for that disgusting display. I don't have a cough button, and like I said, I'm still playing hurt. So it's the price you pay for having me on the show and not having Andy on again.
Well, at least people actually showed up in the chat room this time. Last week, our buddy Matt Riley showed up last week, saw that you weren't here and Sal wasn't here, and left immediately. So that's a thing.
I told you I equal ratings, Adam. I'm not tell you. Sorry.
Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to everyone in the chat room, Kogos, Sean, and Tron, and Matt. Thank you.
Andy was in there.
Yeah, and Andy too for 2 seconds to plug Shadowvane. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Adam. And allow me to take this second to send a message out there. If you're one of those people and you're feeling a little bit depressed, you feel like nobody cares, that there's nothing. Nobody cares, and you have nobody to talk to, and you're thinking of doing anything to yourself or anyone else, I want to just encourage you to plug up your asshole with some poetry by going to tinyurl.com/distant horizons.
Jesus. Well, that took a turn. Thanks to Ray Williams for
Up
the
your
logo.
ass?
And thanks to iFightDragons at ifightdragons.com for the theme song. Next week.
I'm confused. Am I not supposed to plug Andy's stuff here? I thought that's what we were doing.
I don't think Andy wants you to plug anything of his, but that's just his own personal preference. It's not even time for SummerSlam predictions yet, so I don't even know what we're going to do next week. But until then, as always.
I hear tell there might be something special next week.
Oh, yeah? We'll be on the lookout for that. Bree, song, go fuck yourself.
It's not very nice.
It never is.
That's why nobody likes you, and they don't want to come on the show unless I'm here. Because I don't tell them to fuck themselves at the end of every episode.
It's tradition. I mean it in the most loving way possible. What more fun can you have than fucking yourself?
This is why people didn't want to help you find your suit. I'm just saying. Perhaps you should use this
as a learning opportunity.
Yes. It's a teaching moment, Adam. Somebody might have gone back down and looked there for you if you weren't constantly telling them to go fuck themselves. Maybe you have heat and you didn't even know it from telling people to go fuck themselves. Maybe people are sitting at home, boys who are in the locker room, I don't know, anybody. Smathers sitting there, he's got his wiener in his hand, he's going to town on himself, listening to the show, and just as he's about to come, you tell him to go fuck himself, and it ruins the whole thing.
That's what he was already doing.
When he's soft, and now the whole experience is ruined. He's got to blow out the candles, the whole deal. All because you told him to go fuck himself. Because he was doing it anyway, but he doesn't need you to beat him over the head with it. Probably feels dirty enough doing it. And I don't mean to single out Smathers. It could be anyone playing with their wet pecker during the show.
Well, this took a weird turn.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you I haven't done it. I'm pretty sure that's why Adam shut off the show twice tonight.
I was wondering what that rhythmic thumping was. Anyway, on that note, take care, Bulby Faces.
I can't even say see you next Thursday now, and see you next Wednesday doesn't spell anything dirty. You really fucked me with this whole time change, the date change thing.
For the people who only listen, if you can say see you next Thursday, because it'll post on Thursday. So,
okay, I'll see you next Thursday.
All right. Bye-bye. Now I have 3 tracks to run the compressor on.
It's not even close to 11 o'clock yet.
I know. It's only an hour and 56 minutes.
So fuck you, Andy. See? And if we hadn't had to spend like 20 minutes with you talking about people jerking off, it would have been fine.
It wasn't my fault.
I did it for the people. I jerked it for the people. Oh, we're still live.
Yep.
Do a transcript or anything to entertain people?
I gotta see if there's anything interesting in it.
Did Sal send nudes this week?
No. It does call Braun Strowman Brunch Roman.
Oh, we didn't talk about it on the show. But did you notice Kurt Angle's pronunciation of everybody?
No.
Yeah, during the promo, yeah, he's gonna have what was it? He was gonna have Samoa Joe versus Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns.
Brock Lesnar in Samoa Joe. There's one. Jinder Mahal.
Oh, there you go. Transgender.
We are going into SummerSlam, and we now have, since Kanaka more challenging for the Debbie Championship, a lot of people think he is going to win, and Corbin's going to cash in on him.
WWE.
Debbie Championship.
WWE.
But there's a comma there, so it's Debbie Championship. All right. Anyway, anywho. Sorry about my microphone, you guys, but I don't know what's wrong with it.
It's okay. I covered it.
Bye.
Let me